Hey guys, it's Darcy Lacoube here reporting from Hong Kong. We're taking a first look at the iPhone 5 versus the HTC One X. Now, both are remarkably beautiful devices, marvels of engineering really. Nice thin profile, brilliant, beautiful displays that are large. Obviously, they are competitors. Now, the HTC One X did come out a little bit earlier than the S3, and the timing was a little poor on HTC's part. It really is a beautiful device, and it features a remarkable display. Brilliant whites, high resolution, very responsive. But the iPhone is no slouch in this department either. It has its own beautiful display as well. Now, obviously, we are looking at a substantially larger footprint with the HTC One X, just to give you an idea. It has a larger width and is slightly thinner as well. Slightly taller as well. Now, bringing it into specs and whatnot, with the HTC One X, in terms of its physical dimensions, we are looking at a 5.29 inches in overall height with a 2.75 inch width. The thinness of it is 0.35 inches, making it quite svelte and very nice in the hand, easy to hold. It feels really good. And although it isn't actually curved, the design does give the impression that it is in fact a curved device, much like the Galaxy Nexus. The iPhone 5 is 4.87 inches high by 2.31 inches wide, and it is thinner, 0.3 inches thin to be fact, versus the 0.35 of the HTC One X. Now, in the hand, both actually are very comparable. The HTC One X is only 130 grams, whereas the iPhone 5 is 112. But really, it's very difficult to notice. What makes an impression on the hand is the actual width. Now, my hands aren't large by any means, but they're not small either, and the HTC One X is substantially wider, and its screen is substantially wider too. And speaking of screens, we're looking at a Super LCD display with an HD display. It features a 1280 by 720 pixel display, 4.7 inches, and the iPhone 5 features the odd but high resolution Retina, if Apple would have us follow their marking. Features a pixel of 1136 high by 640 wide, making it 326 pixels per inch, whereas the HTC One X is 312 pixels per inch with its 1280 by 720 display, which is becoming the standard for phones going forward. We won't really see any phones with any pixel density or PPI count less than 300. It almost looks like a painting, actually, the HTC One X. And the iPhone 5 is remarkably beautiful with this brilliant IPS TFT LCD display. Of course, there are other differences as well, which we'll talk about, like battery. The camera itself is quite similar, and others. But getting into memory, the HTC One X is one of the few devices, due to its polycarbonate unibody, that does feature no expandable memory. Now, you can get it in a 32 gigabyte flavor, which is enough for most people, making it satisfying. And with cloud and Dropbox and other such services, getting mobile content on the move isn't going to be a problem, so long as there aren't any bandwidth limitations in place. The iPhone 5 features 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte iterations, and like the HTC One X, has no expandable memory whatsoever. In terms of batteries, they're also comparable as well, in that they aren't removable. Now, of course, the HTC One X features a larger battery, which is necessary due to its large display. We're looking at 1,800 milliamp hours for the HTC One X, and as I said, it is not removable. For the iPhone 5, it is only 1,400 milliamp. Now, in terms of talk time, we have 8 hours of talk time with the iPhone 5, and we have up to 11 hours of talk time with the HTC One X. Of course, these are always manufacturer suggested, so there are obviously going to be differences in terms of your network or how you use the device, and that's just for talk time. Now, bringing it back to the internals of the device, they're very different. This features Apple's own designed Apple A6 processor with design references board from ARM, which of course is powering hundreds and hundreds of millions, if not billions, of mobile devices today. Of course, Intel is going to try and change that, but that's the topic for another time. Now, this features the Tegra 3 SoC. Now, it is clocked at a very high clock speed, but it does feature a different architecture. So though it is a quad core, it is still only going to be actually probably about 10% slower in terms of benchmarks And benchmarks really have very little to do with real-world application. But just to give you guys an idea, I've loaded up a bookmark of Android Authority here. I'm just going to open. Obviously, you see both open quickly. Just going to type in Android here on both. Okay. All right, and let's push it at the same time. Now, it should be known that I've cleared the cache on both to give this a real, fair world example demonstration for you guys. So let's just click it and see what loads first. Here we go. All right, HTC's off to a good start. Okay. Now, it looks like, okay, the iPhone 5 did finish slightly before. And it should be known, though, and we're still working on the HTC One X, that the iPhone 5 doesn't have flash support. Now, we are running flash here, obviously. A little bit of lag. Flash is extremely demanding, and in fact, as we know, Adobe has suspended support for Apple on mobile devices, and we are going to be moving towards an HTML5 standard. Now let's just see the rotation. Okay, so now Apple has developed a great reputation for having extremely responsive devices, and the iPhone 5 really is no exception. Extremely fluid. So pinch to zoom is just, I mean, it looks like it's even faster than Jelly Bean. Potentially 90 or 120 frames a second, and its next generation LCD display really renders images and text remarkably well. Now, Dolphin, of course, if we want to give a truer test, we probably should give Chrome, but it is nice actually to have Flash. It is still not been replaced by any existing technology online, and you will still find it on the majority of sites. But, you know, that's not to say the HTC One X is a slouch. It still renders content very, very quickly and is very beautiful. It's just because there is no flash, and because Apple controls the browsing experience essentially on iOS, they are able to optimize it. In addition, the processor on this features specs that best the world's best-selling Android device, of course the Galaxy S3 now, but only by about 5 to 10%. Either way, both are beautiful and both are fast. Let's bring it back to the home. Now, of course, these are competitors. Now, this is an Android-based device, and it's running Android Ice Cream Sandwich at 4.04 iteration with Sense 4.0 overlay. Now, Jelly Bean, which is the next generation of Android, is promised for HTC's devices. We haven't been given a release date yet, but it should be coming soon. Now, the iPhone 5 features iOS 6, which a lot of people love, and also a lot of people hate. The mapping solution that's contained within, sadly, has earned itself a lot of bad press, and for good reason. It's just nowhere near as good as what Google has offering, and it's just nowhere near as good. It's just simple as that. You can talk to anyone that's used it so far, whereas obviously Google Maps is substantially better. Either way, that's a small part, but an important part of what makes these devices different. Now, bringing it back to other things, on the front, we have a 1.3 megapixel camera for the HTC One X, and the iPhone 5 has a 1.2 megapixel camera, making them very, very comparable. Other than that, we have a micro USB plug-in, on the HTC One X, so that you can add your own movies and music without the need for any third-party software suite. Sadly, with the iPhone, everything has to go through iTunes. Now, you could jailbreak this device and you could make it your own, but a lot of people are scared to do that. What else? So, we have an SLCD2 display on the HTC One X. It is really one of the best displays on the market, and a lot of people really, really love it. When the HTC One X came out, all the device reviewers on all the prominent tech sites were saying that it arguably was one of the best displays they'd ever laid witness to. Now, this does feature a higher PPI count, but it is negligible. You really have to look at it with a magnifying glass to really spot the difference. So, let's see a camera test to see how quickly both can take pictures. I've used both, and both are remarkably fast. Let's just try and take a picture of the S3 here. Get them both in the hand. Let them focus. Which one focuses first? Okay. It appears as though the iPhone is struggling with a close-up. There we are. Okay, and let's just take pictures. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so basically, for every picture that you're able to capture with the One X, you were able to capture essentially 3 or 4 with the iPhone. But it does have a problem focusing. I'm trying to hold my hands as steady as possible. Okay. Now, it's just clear that the iPhone is lightning fast. Let's just take a look to see if they're actually clear. Not bad. Really not bad at all. Okay, and let's look at the HTC One X to see. Okay, also quite clear. So essentially, after you get them focused, they are very comparable. Of course, both are LCD technology. So rotation. Okay. So I would say that they are very close to being on par. Now we're going to follow up with a much more thorough device review, obviously in one of our articles on our site, in which we're going to be looking at benchmarks, camera, and all the other important features that matter to smartphone owners. So, talking about the iPhone 5 for a second, this device launched today, September 21st, and they've sold millions of them. In fact, they sold out of pre-orders, and the lineups, they actually had to suspend lineups here in Hong Kong because there were fights last year, and there were so many scalpers and so much animosity that Apple put in place a lottery system in which you had to go online and order one. So, now this is an A6 processor inside, only clocked at 1000 megahertz, whereas this is a Tegra 3 quad-core. So dual core 1000 megahertz versus quad-core at 1.4 gigahertz. So with the HTC One X, we're looking to be powered by the Tegra 3, clocked in at 1.5 gigahertz, and it does feature a remarkably powerful 1.5 gigahertz clock speed. Now, NVIDIA has vast experience with gaming, so Tegra is gaming. They always have their own market. The apps and the games available there are going to be optimized for that, and so you will enjoy an extremely fluid and immersive gaming experience with a Tegra-powered device. The iPhone 5, though, is powered by a 1 gigahertz dual-core A6 processor, which Apple designed themselves. But initial benchmarks are showing that it bests the HTC One X in a variety of situations, albeit only slightly. Other than that, obviously very different operating systems with iOS 6 versus Android. It really depends on what you're looking for. A lot of things that matter to smartphone owners are like one-handed operation. Now, it is arguably easier to use the iPhone for one-handed operation. You still have a large display. The width, obviously, is nowhere near that of the HTC One X, but it is comparable in terms of how tall it is. So it's really up to you. A lot of people don't really mind tapping and having custom keyboards and everything with Android. You can really customize the experience and make it your own. And it's really funny to see how Apple has incrementally incorporated features into its software suite that mimic and emulate many, many features of what Android already has on the table. But they do say that copying is the best form of flattery, or something similar to that. So maybe Apple's just following Android's lead. Either way, these are two of the leading devices in the marketplace today, so we wanted to give you a hands-on comparison of the HTC One X versus the iPhone 5. I'm really liking both. Simple as that. Obviously, I'm an Android fan, you know, we have Android authority here, but competition between, you know, the serious players in the mobile business is a really good thing for consumers, and we need to engender that, we need to encourage that. People vote with their dollars more than anything today, and there's no doubt in anyone's mind that the iPhone 5 will probably be the best-selling mobile device for the next little while. Either way, I would have to say it really all depends on your personal preferences. iOS is arguably more intuitive, albeit less customizable than Android. The response time of operation is slightly better, and web browsing shows that too, but you will be missing out on some key features like Flash. In addition to that, the ability to add widgets and whatnot to your device makes the HTC One X and other Android devices very, very appealing to many that like to own their experience, to maximize and to explore and to create and to really make it their own. Whereas sadly, unfortunately, iOS is really adhering to a strict sort of top-down, vertically integrated approach with its iTunes and the way that it just mandates that you connect to a computer to get music on there and movies and so forth. Either way, guys, like I said, two of the best devices on the market today, iPhone 5 versus the HTC One X. We're reporting live here from Hong Kong. Thanks for checking in, guys. We hope you appreciated and enjoyed our versus comparison. And hit us up on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, or just come check out the site. Let us know what you think. And have a great day. Thanks very much, guys. This is Darcy Lacouvé from Android Authority.